How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk, and I'm going to talk about the inmate grievance system. I'm going to talk about the importance of that grievance system, how it protects us, but how it can also destroy us. And it's something that you're going to start hearing a lot about lately because there's some news release coming out of Delaware that relates to the riot in February and how grievances could have been a part of that. And when we're talking about grievances, we're talking about the ability for an inmate to be heard. So I want to discuss that. I want to discuss the importance of the grievance system. So stand by for my sponsors, and when we come back, let's talk about the inmate grievance system.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Being a corrections officer takes its toll on even the strongest individuals. The constant need to perform at the highest level, putting your life at risk in a hostile environment, and the mental scarring of traumatic experiences. 31% of corrections officers show symptoms of PTSD, and 66% of people with PTSD also suffer with a substance abuse problem. The Transformations First Responders program is specially designed to help veterans and officers heal from the grips of addiction and PTSD in a comfortable, supportive, and serene setting. You are not alone. If you have questions about the services we offer, give us a call at 866-762-8454 to get more information on this affordable and life-changing program.
All right, welcome back. We're going to be talking about grievances. Guys, the show is Tier Talk. It's about corrections, a frontline perspective, if you will. So if you guys can subscribe, interact, engage, and hit that bell on that YouTube channel, that Tier Talk YouTube channel, because that's going to give you the notifications each time I post a video. Grievance system, it's touchy because it's misused a lot. So I know there's a lot of people that are frustrated with the grievance system. And when I talk about grievance systems, I'm talking about two things here. I'm talking about a way for an inmate to voice their concern, but I'm also want to make sure that people know that the grievance system is a documented system, which means that once a grievance is written, it's noted somewhere that that grievance was written. So whether it's on a paper format or whether it was through the kiosk, because now a lot of stuff is going to digital. There's kiosks where inmates can actually select the department they wanted to go to, and they kind of send out their concern directly to that department. But again, it's being misused too. You know, a lot of inmates, they'll either put up bogus complaints because maybe they're mad at something. So they'll put up some complaint. Let's say they get written up. Next thing you know, they'll start putting complaints in about the officer or putting complaints in about the charge they got. Well, you have an appeal process for that. Well, we lost the appeal process. That's it. It's done. Sorry, guys. Go back to the appeal process if you're looking to contest a charge. But you also have inmates that kind of like to see us scramble. They kind of like to play games because they know we have to act on the grievances. So they know that's a way to control us. Again, I could protect anybody from manipulation. I could teach you the skills you need, but sometimes there's just policies that force us to act. And that's where we start to scramble. But I know there's frustration with the grievance system being misused by the inmate population. Especially now, again, we talked about the digital, they could just jump right up to the administrative level as opposed to going to their department and dealing with it at first at an immediate level. You have a problem with classification, you got to get your grievance to that classification supervisor so they can address it. But a lot of inmates will go around that and go right to the administration level without going through the proper channels. But again, the grievance system is important because it lets management know of concerns that need to be addressed. And some people may look at it as superficial concerns, but on a greater scale, they may not be. And the reason why you want to look at the grievance system and take it seriously is because it's the grievance system that gives the inmates a chance to voice their concerns. That's the key. If they don't have a chance to voice their concerns and that grievance system is not taken seriously, what's going to happen? The inmates are going to unite and they could possibly riot. I mean, don't forget the grievance system was put in place because of a riot. You know, because the inmates felt they had no voice and they were concerns that they felt needed to be addressed. So we need to know from a management level what those concerns are, and we need to have those concerns addressed. Because don't forget, when a grievance comes my way, my name's on that grievance somewhere that I know what happened. So I have to commit myself to an action. I have to have some type of action to follow the grievance that was set my way. Especially, again, even if there's security issues, you definitely got to put your name on something. But even if there are issues that look to be superficial, inmates know, guys, I'm sorry, it sucks, but we have to commit to some type of action. Hopefully, if the inmate keeps on writing up the same concern and you could document that you've looked into that concern, that's where the grievance system protects us, then we're golden. But we have to do some form of work so we can document that we've had that matter looked into. So the reason why the grievance system can protect us is because it's going to highlight the work we did when an inmate may have said, hey, I documented this concern and nobody did nothing. There's our response. These are actions that we did, and we took note of those actions. So just in case it ever goes above us, because the grievance system can go way above us. It can go past administration up to, an ombudsman, if you will, and even further out. So, we have to make sure that we exhaust things at our level first, because we're put in a trusted position. So if someone above us gets it and they realize that we didn't take any initial steps to solve this issue, that's a problem. That's a problem that we're going to have to speak up for in the courts in case it makes it that far, because you never know how far this is going to go. And trust me, if there is a concern that was not met, the first thing lawyers are going to say is, did this person ever grieve it? And now with the kiosk in place, they can see if grievance was ever made, if they were ever answered or unanswered. And if they were answered, they know who answered them. So what did you do when you got it? Because your name's on this. Did you just close it up, or did you act accordingly? And that's kind of how it protects us, but it also could hurt us. Because if you're not committing to the right action, they're going to find out. It's searchable. And now you're going to have a lot of explaining to do. Now, for those that misuse the grievance system, I would like to say there should be a form of punishment. But again, if you're going to punish the inmate for using the grievance system, you better document and literally have proof of why the person is being eliminated from using that grievance system. You have to show the misuse, whether it was repetitive complaints about the same issue that was resolved, or outright being disrespectful, cursing at staff, whatever it is. But you have to document literally and prove why you got to take away their access to the grievance system, because that's a hard battle to win. It's a very hard battle to win. And again, the grievance system, again, was put into place so inmates could voice their concern beyond that immediate level. So we have to understand that as supervisors, we're going to get those grievances. Some are legit, because I'm sure we've had some grievances that are legit and we had to go back and rectify what needed to be rectified. And then there are some that just are out there to have a scramble. But that's the reason it may be a hassle that we're scrambling, to the ones that are false. But then again, we have the ones that are true. So because there are chances that there are some true ones there, we have to go through the false ones. And we have to cover ourselves each and every time we look into a grievance. So I'm not going to talk about specific types of grievances. Inmates could grieve over anything nowadays, But the matter is that once they grieve and it's documented, you have to have an action. You have to commit to an action, because you never know who's going to get their hands on that grievance and who's going to see your name connected to that, and if you did anything. And for the officers on the front line, and even the frontline supervisor, who are kind of annoyed because sometimes management pushes for these grievances to be investigated, we have to, because of the liability. And the sad thing is, check this out, guys, I get the grievance, I pass it forward, I also commit to the follow-up. So even when I pass it over to the supervisor, I'm still ultimately responsible for the outcome of that grievance. So I'm going to be on that supervisor. Hey, what was the answer to that? The inmate said they were threatened. What was the result? Did the inmate write a report saying they were not threatened? Because now, whatever the inmate documented, the resolution is going to have to require some documentation for me to utilize, just in case something was to happen. Hey, I did interview that inmate, and the inmate did say that they weren't threatened. So again, the grievance system is important because it could protect us, but for the inmates, it could also destroy us if we don't do what we're supposed to do. But it also gives us information that we may need to know that could prevent something on a great scale, because sometimes the inmates use the grievance system to drop us a little message anonymously. You know, maybe not so much on the digital, because that obviously you'll know who used it, but in the old letter format. That's why you got to kind of keep it, because you can have anonymous notes that go through that grievance system or their IRF system, the inmate remedy system, that we may need to be made aware of. Like, this is going on, and come on, guys, you got to act. So, you know, messages could be anything that, you know, that may pertain to the safety and security of the facility. So management gets wind of it, management has to act. But it's management's action. What are we going to do? Am I going to look into grievance by giving it to custody? Am I going to give it to an internal affairs unit? Whatever the case may be. But those actions by management is documented. That's why you're going to see a lot of pressure from management to the front line or to an investment to say, hey, what happened with this grievance? Because you never know what's going to end up. So the grievance system is important because it actually is a preventive measure, guys, believe it or not. It's a preventive measure that can help us steer away from potential riots. So if you have concerns that need to be addressed, especially if it affects the population as a whole, you got to address it because it affects the population as a whole. But again, even if they're individual, we have to address it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But the grievance system at all ends should be taken very seriously. Don't underestimate the seriousness of that grievance system, because even though the inmates misuse it, because it does get misused a lot, and we should document each time it's misused. Maybe we could take that inmate away from the system if possible, but there's also some very important stuff that go through it. So sometimes in the scramble that we have to weed through the bullshit, because in our case, as I mentioned in a video before, inmates can cry wolf, but we have to answer each and every time, and they know that. That's where the manipulation of policy comes into play. But I guarantee you, they don't care about the 99 times you investigated and nothing happened because you were able to prove the inmate was lying. They care about the one time when the inmate wasn't lying. And that's what gets us each and every time. Love you guys. The show's Tear Talk. Please interact, engage, subscribe, hit that notification. The show's for you guys. This about the grievance system was just an informative effort to just make sure you get the information that you need and get a better understanding of some of the systems that we utilize. My name's Anthony Gangi, show Tear Talk. Love you guys. Stay safe.